Welcome to another episode of Subconscious Realms. I'm your host, General Lee. And for tonight, we welcome an accomplished author who I've only recently discovered, and I'm absolutely loving fascinating content on her YouTube channel alone. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome. She's an author. She's the host and creator of YouTube channel DJ Elliot, and recently it's host and creator of Hermes Risen off, I believe it's on Anchor. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Miss Debbie Elliott.
Oh. Thank you, General Lee. This is great to be. I'm really honoured to be on your podcast. I've been listening to them for quite a while on Anchor, so it's nice to be able to talk to you finally.
Oh, thank you, dear. And likewise, before I've said this before to you, you're British, so you know you automatically get a dual pass.
Flying the British flag. Though we're all one, aren't we? Really, it's one world, one people.
It is. Yeah. I mean, I don't know why I've not found you sooner, but your YouTube channel, the content is just right down my alley. You know, if it's not the work you've done on Harryman and Lucifer and Steiner, it's something specifically that I've only just sort of heard of. I love my hands up. I'm no expert, but I think this is what it's all about. It's learning, and when you find an individual, a talented individual such as yourself, that's sharing incredible content, and this is what it's all about. And this is why we're learning at the time, at the same time. But I'm specifically interested in how do you pronounce it? Gurdjieff.
Gurdjieff. I do a lot on Gurdjieff, George Ivanovich Gurdjieff, because my channel is quite a mixture, really. I started off doing it many years ago, doing people's art, because I work with a lot of occult artists, and I'm very into different, let's call them occult pathways, or esoteric pathways. And George Gurdjieff was a mystic philosopher who was around in the early 1900s. No one knows when he was born because he doesn't ever reveal that. He died in 1949. So he was around the time of a lot of other quite famous people that we know of now, like Helena Blavatsky and Rudolf Steiner and Nicholas Roerich. I do shows about all them on my channel. Sometimes it's my own shows that I put together, and sometimes it's me interviewing people on the subjects. But we're just trying to pass on other people's, like them, these great teachers, their work. I don't really spout my own ideas of all that. I'm putting forward theirs because I think their ideas are the correct ones of how we should be living in this world and this realm and this lunatic asylum that we're living on. This planet's just crazy.
It seems to be. It just seems to be getting worse. And well, I won't say worse. It's just things seem to just be ramping up.
Absolutely, they are ramping up. And also, when people like yourself and me start seeing through it all, then we really see how much it's ramped up. Where most of the, the sheep, the Joe Blogs of this world, they don't see it because they're too programmed. Where we've kind of been unprogrammed, we're beginning to see through it all. And we can see the craziness. Gurdjieff says we live in a lunatic asylum because we're the wrong people get in charge. People that have come from an ego point of view, people that think they know better than we know, people that want to control the situation, probably people that have had some kind of issues when they were younger, that they, maybe they were bullied or maybe they were put down by their peers. So they've raised to a point where they're going to go and take control. And usually they are lunatics. They've got some weird ideas for us.
Yeah, it's if things are not good with the way that things are run currently, but I guess for as long as I'm aware of, anyway, I think things have not been run well at all.
Not for hundreds of years.
Oh yes, we've probably potentially even longer.
But it feels like there's some kind of elite behind it that are running it. I come from, this might be a bit sensational for some people, but I strongly believe in that this world's not just us humans walking it. We've grown up with the stories of the angels and the demons. In whatever religion or faith you follow, there'll be stories of dark and light. And I think these dark forces are able to penetrate into our world and take control. The mission of the darkness, let's say, of Satan, Sorak, whatever you want to name, we shouldn't really say them out loud because it kind of gets their attention and they'll come and sabotage this show. But them dark forces, they're after our souls. There's the big battle between good and evil is really about, we're the pawns in that game. It's the souls they want that we have. I don't know if you've read the book of Job in the Bible, where it's the little battle between God and the devil in that, of how he's trying to, Job is a faithful man. He does everything right. And so God always blesses him. And the devil said, oh, the only reason he worships you is because you keep giving him blessings. So the devil offers to God, just don't answer his prayers for a while and let's see what happens. And so God doesn't. And the devil does all these torments on him and everything. But Job never gives up his faith. When most people do, when they're tormented by the devil, they give up their faith easily and then they fall down that dark path. If you've got no faith, you've got no connection to the divine source.
I mean, I can understand what you mean. I haven't read Book of Job. I'm not religious, Debbie. I'm sorry. Even though I'm not religious, I still find a lot of the work absolutely fascinating, especially when, like Gary Wayne has come on, and not just Gary, other guests have come on, and the perspective there, it's just incredible. It really is. But is this part of one of those like fascinating aspects of the religion, do you think?
Well, when you were saying you're not religious, but do you believe in a God? You don't have to be religious to believe. Or do you feel there's more to this world than just, the everyday material world we're shown? Would you say you're on a spiritual path?
That's a good question. I love that question. I believe there's something. I'm just not quite sure what it is. I think the problem that I've got, Debbie, is I won't say it's a problem. It's just not my bag. It feels like it's almost to some extent, it's like pushed. Some religion is pushed onto people and like forced. And to me, I think that's wrong. And from what I see of religion, I mean, what's good about war and death and all that what comes with it? You know what I mean?
Yeah, because what the problem is organized religion. That's what the problem is. That's what puts people off looking at the faith.
Yeah. Do you think that's where the things start turning sour when you get? I mean, again, I guess it's in a way it's manipulation.
Yes.
Do you think that potentially where I've got a problem with it is? I mean, I'm not one for all rules and regulations anyway, but I think to sort of like, I see that as being some sort of manipulation where when you've got somebody saying what's right and what's wrong, and what you should believe in, what you shouldn't be believing in. You should be doing this, you shouldn't be doing that. You do this, you do that. I think that's wrong, me personally. But this is just me. It's just my own thoughts, and we're all different, aren't we?
Well, many people feel like you do. That's why many people don't go to church or to a temple or to look for any spiritual path, because they think it's all going to be like organized religion where you're told what to think and you're told what to pray, and it shouldn't be like that. It should be free.
free. Yeah, that's.
They should be guiding us. They should be showing us how to go forward in our religious faith. Or I don't like using religious faith because it's got that connotation of religion, but you know, that's what a lot of my channel is all about. I'm trying to ask people, what is it that you believe in? Why is it that you don't think there is a God? Or what, you know, if you do think there's a God, what do you think that divine source is, and how do you connect to it? It should be a personal thing, I believe. Though it is nice to all meet up in a group and a gathering and have, like, I don't know, whether it's prayers or a meditation together, or, you know, read some beautiful sacred or esoteric poetry or writings that are out there. But it's when it becomes organized, like you say, and starts being told what we're supposed to believe, that becomes very awkward, I think. We're free human beings, and we should be free in our own, what we say, what we speak, what we think. You know, it's one of my concerns of the last few years. I've been really trying to take away freedom of speech, and that makes it awkward of being able to put forward one's own beliefs, obviously, or one's own thoughts. And it's also happened with, you know, what happened in 2020. They shut a lot of the churches down and the temples down of different faiths. And then people couldn't, you know, that's taken away their right to go and, you know, pray or whatever, or feel secure in a religious building. I do like a good cathedral, not necessarily going for the religious service, but I think a lot of the cathedrals are built in such a harmonious way that you can feel the vibrations of this beautiful planet. It's a more of a sacred space where you can attune yourself, where when we're walking about on this planet, you know, the everyday walking down your high street or going to your work, you're in a very mundane, materialistic place. So you're not feeling your inner self or your connection to the divine source of what you believe in. So I wouldn't want to get rid of churches or temples or mosques. I think they're very important for that sacred space and connection for oneself. But if I could, I would like to try and help people to question themselves what it is their belief is, what it is they want, what is it, how do they work more harmoniously in this world.
Yeah, that's a lovely thing to say, that, Deborah. Well, you know, are you, or would you say that you was a Christian? Is that what you are yourself? Would you say, or would you say you was more spiritual?
I would say, because I get asked this kind of question a lot, because I talk a lot about Christ consciousness, which is quite a different thing to what the Christian religions are. That I talk about Christ consciousness and Buddhic consciousness in the way of, you know, the Buddha.
Yeah,
they were able to connect with a certain special force that's coming from the hierarchy of the divine. I think, you know, I'm a true believer in this, the divine source, which is way, way, way up there. But the divine source gave us humans free will. So the divine source never interferes with us because we've got the free will to do what we want. If the divine source interfered, our free will's gone and it becomes like a dictatorship, doesn't it? But below the divine source, there's archangels, angels, and these special forces like the Buddha and the Christ, who came as great teachers because they were more developed than, you know, the average man and woman in their mind and soul. And so they came and tried to help people find what their soul is. Many people don't think they have a soul. I find that quite interesting, but I believe the soul is your connection to the divine. So I know many people poo-poo religion because they don't like being told what to do, but if they understood the esoteric side of Christianity or the Christ force, what it is, an energy that can come in and transform you so that you can become the most perfected version of yourself, you would probably find, still living in this world, a lunatic asylum. But when you've got an understanding of how there's more to this world than just this material world that our governments and leaders try to keep us in, which is why, going back to why I'm thinking a lot of it could be being run by people that are more of the demonic side, because the whole battle between good and evil, trying to keep our souls, trying to keep us here, trying to destroy our souls.
Yeah, feeding off us.
Yes, they love a bit of negativity. And so you're feeding it. If you're being negative, you're feeding that dark force. But if you're being positive and a more awakened state, then you're working more with the divine vibrations that are coming down, and God, or the divine source, whatever you want to call him, her, it, will repay you, will be there for you.
I think it's like what you've just said then. It's makes sense, especially when, you know, the demonic side of it, quote demonic. I mean, I'm not quite sure what it is. It's just, it's not, doesn't seem like it's in our own interest anyway. We're not benefiting from any of this. It's them, not us.
Yeah, it's not in our interest, it's in their interest. Where from the lighter side of like the angels, the archangels, Christ, Buddha, you know, all these other great teachers, they want to help us. So it is for us to help ourselves. Gurdjieff talks about how there's 7 different types of man and woman.
Really?
Seven types. So there's the first 3, you know, one's a person's very intellectual, you know, like our professors, but they might not be very sporty or very emotional because they're a bit unbalanced. They're too much in the head. And then there's the number 2 person would be someone that is too emotional. They're all in their emotions. So they don't think too well, but they feel. They're like empaths. But maybe they're not very bodily. And then you've got your 3rd type that is more about the body, the great sportsmen of this day and age, or people that like to do physical work.
Like an athlete, but like an athlete, would you say that?
Yeah.
Right, okay.
And so it's like these people are all only balanced in one way. Where Gurdjieff says there's a 4th way. If you can bring all them 3 together, because we've all got intelligence, we've all got emotions, and we've all got a body. But if we can bring them all together to a balanced state, then we would be more in tune with how this world is running. And I'm not meaning by the government, I mean like in the cosmological way of how this world and the universe works. He calls that man number 4, which is why Gurdjieff's work's often called the 4th way.
The 4th?
Yeah, you know, like you can have a monk goes and meditates.
Yeah.
So that's one way. A fakir, you know, the out in India that does all the, puts the nails through his tongue and it doesn't hurt him, them kind of things. Do you know what I mean?
Strange, I'll tell you what.
Yeah.
What's that called? I've always wondered what. I know it's
fakirs. Fakirs, Fakir. And then there's the other way of the yogis who go and meditate up a tree and everybody comes and, you know, gives them their food or whatever. So they're 3 different ways of working on a spiritual path, where Gurdjieff's saying if you put all them 3 ways together inside yourself, you become, well, a 4th person, a 4th man, a 4th woman. You've put all 3 ways in.
A very interesting perspective from
it is, isn't it? It's more balanced. And that's what we should be trying to be, a balanced person within ourselves, so that we can go about this lunatic asylum a bit more awake and be aware when crazy things happen to us. We start understanding why they're happening.
It's fascinating.
A lot of it is outside of us. It's other people's rubbish happening to us, or what Gurdjieff would call accidents just happen. But when you're more balanced, you start seeing that coming towards you and you can sort of sidestep it.
Yeah, that makes sense, don't it? You can sort of like, you know, something's about to happen. Let's get out of the way, like you said.
Yeah, you become aware of people's moods, or you can suddenly be a bit, you know, it's like you're one step ahead of that person's about to explode at me, or that person's about to give me a wonderful big hug, you know, which is lovely, isn't it? You know, you can sense things a bit more, where most of us are switched off from all that because we're only using one of these ways, one of these centers.
This is, you know, I mean, I'm not familiar with any of this, but a lot of what you're saying, it makes a lot of sense to me, especially with actually having the ability to feel, like when something doesn't feel right, or when you get like a wrong vibe off somebody, especially that.
Exactly, and people sometimes get that, but they tend to ignore it. Or they say later, don't they? Oh, I kind of felt it, but I didn't do anything about it.
Yeah.
Doing this kind of work on yourself, you start following them instincts. And it makes a lot of sense when it starts happening.
It certainly does.
We get distracted a lot, don't we, by just going about our everyday rat race lives.
Yeah, do you think that could be potentially what the problem is with society in general? When you've got like these aspects thrown into the mix, and then you've got the powers that be are constantly trying to manipulate us in one way or another. It's throwing us off what we should be concentrating on, and that's why maybe we have accidents, etc. Maybe.
Yes.
I don't know.
Absolutely. I think this is the whole point of why these dark forces, well, we're given these distractions. You know, you need that new phone. Well, you don't really. You need to go and watch this movie. You don't really. They worry us with, you know, price increase on food and things like that. It's all distractions, I think, to keep us off from developing ourselves and becoming, you know, that more perfected or even a better person in yourself. Because I know a lot of people that do this kind of work that have said it's really, I know it changed my life. It made me become more, you know, considerate of myself, how I act with other people.
Yeah.
It makes you considerate of why other people are acting weird. You know, maybe they're having a bad day, when most of us just think, what an idiot, when really we should be considering why people are acting like they are. And this is the sort of thing I think religions should be trying to explain to people, or even in schools when you're growing up, you should be being taught. I'm not saying psychiatry, but try to understand why people are like they are. But instead, they just throw at us, for example, schools, you must learn history, maths, you know, your English or whatever. And religions, when you go to an organized religion, it's mainly telling you off for being a sinner and making you feel, you know, down in yourself, when it should be more uplifting and like you are a human being, be the best human being you can be, and work with other people. The golden rule really is be kind to each other, do to each other what you would like done to yourself. But sadly, many people like to have bad stuff done to themselves. But if we could try and implement that rule more, it would make the world a better place.
Oh, definitely would. I mean, like helping each other. As a start, it's, you know, it is a start. I mean, like this, like our conversation now. It is, to me, there's nothing better than having a conversation with somebody that is on a similar wavelength as yourself. Because things, even if you're not on the same wavelength, still having that conversation though. If you can hold a conversation and not let it turn into an argument, okay. I mean, things can get heated, but it's still good.
Yeah, we should be encouraging each other to continue on ourselves and say that we're, you know, this is good that we're doing conversations like this and with other people. No putting forward one's views only and not listening to anybody else. We need to have an ear to hear what other people, everybody's got something to say.
Yeah, and everybody's got something to say. Also, everybody's got their own beliefs, their own perspectives, and I think that's what I find fascinating is having a conversation with two different perspectives, but the same goal.
Which hopefully should be a goal that's developing one's path.
Yeah, yes. I love this. So we've got up to the fourth way. Is there the fifth, and is there a fifth, sixth, and seventh?
Oh, yeah, let me tell you about them. So man number 5 would be someone who's developed all his, you know, his thinking, feeling, and bodily ways using movement and things. And he would become a bit more, almost like a magician, people would think of today, or like a guru. He's kind of a bit more aware of what's about to happen, maybe a bit telepathic, maybe it's using his full abilities to himself. And it goes on up the ranks, improving. And man number 6 would probably be the Buddha, who reached enlightenment. It's because it's all about a development of understanding of everything, and being enlightened, you become aware of how the whole universe works and what your part in it is, which I think many people have a hunger in themselves, don't they? And they fill it with, because they don't know what that hunger is, they fill it with, I don't know, hobbies, or fill it with sex, or fill it with music or whatever. But for many of us, we begin to realize after a while we're not fulfilling it through material gain, it's actually a spiritual hunger. It's like we want to reach the divine, or find out why we're here, what's our mission, or, you know, it's something more of a higher need or knowledge, more than just what this material world is. And that's what happens when you've reached man number 6. You've become to get that, like a Buddha, you've become enlightened. Right. And then man number 7 would be like a Christ type of figure, someone who's fully connected with the whole universe and with the divine.
Very interesting.
But it can go the other way as well, into like a dark forces way. They could go downwards and turn, you know, become corrupted. So we could become someone like as awful as Satan or Sorat, you know, such a dark force that just wants to destroy and has no conscience and no compassion, which I should add, as you're developing yourself from number 4 upwards, you're developing your compassion for everything, which is very different to love. Many people don't realize that compassion's a true understanding of what a person is, or what everything else is. But also coming along with that is conscience. And many people don't use their conscience. And your conscience is your understanding of right and wrong. Many people ignore their conscience, don't they? That's why so many awful things happen in this world. It's because people just ignore that conscience telling you that that's not what you should be doing.
Yeah, I think that's another strange one, into conscience. Again, I mean, to me, I think a lot of it's down to manipulation. Is such a big thing. A lot of people don't realise they're being manipulated. You know, manipulation could mean for anything. It's like, oh, what you're eating, what food are you eating? It's, oh no, you know, oh yeah, you'll like that. It's like you're being manipulated to eat something that you don't like. It's like it could take into account for anything. That,
well, people get manipulated in relationships as well.
Oh,
and that's, you know, something very difficult, isn't it?
I think it's a huge thing, that, Debbie. That's well said. That I mean, it's undoubted that is potentially one of the main aspects, I would say, for relationship manipulation. And it's sad to say that, but it is true.
Most of the people that come to me for one-to-ones are about manipulation, how they're being manipulated, how to break themselves free, because it's kind of like having to find yourself and create that strength in you to realize that you are worthy of being the person you are. Because people that manipulate other people are looking for weak people that are more than with people pleasers. They look for people pleasers. And, you know, I've been a people pleaser in my life and learned very quickly that, you know, it's not a good thing. We want to please each other when we're all helping each other. But most manipulators will look for people like that so that they can have, it's all about them then. They're manipulating people so that they're getting that better life and not caring that the people they're manipulating are not having their life or being the person they should be.
Yeah, it shouldn't be that way, should it?
Go on.
It shouldn't be that way, Debbie. You know, if you're in love with somebody, why this is the last thing you'd expect. But
that's what happens.
This is what I mean. Yeah, it's sadly, it's. I think there's a fine line between love and hate.
Absolutely. And I think a lot of the shows I've tried to do, because Gurdjieff talks a lot about how to look at yourself and see, it's like called self-observation, and you become aware of why you are people pleasing that person or why you're snapping at that person. And a lot of our problems are because of something we've done, you know, whether in our younger age or earlier in that day, that's put us on the wrong, you know, niggled us, put us on edge, and then we carry on that way of feeling for the rest of the day and make it ruin our day. But if we can become aware of, right, this is happening to me, this person's manipulating me, I need to break free from that, then you can start the ball rolling of making your life better. But it is difficult because people use emotional, I forgot what the word is, emotional blackmail on people.
Emotional blackmail, that's a classic one, that.
Yeah, and I think a lot of the religions used emotional blackmail to make people stay with them when we shouldn't be using that. We should be free to understand when someone's doing something like that and to be able to walk away.
100%. You know, it's funny you should mention that about some of the religions. It was only, I say, one of the nights last week. I forget what channel it was, but it was about a bloke, and he'd left the Amish community. It was in the US, and it was like as if he was being hounded by all, like the elders of the community. Like, he wasn't allowed to do this, he wasn't allowed to do that. So he had left it because of the manipulation, because it didn't sit with him. But it continued. It went worse for him after he left. Is that something? Are you aware of that happening, or do you think that was just a one-off, or is that something that goes on, sadly?
It's the first time I've heard about it in an Amish community, but I can understand. I must admit, if I'd grown up in an Amish community, I would have wanted to be a bit of a rebel and break free. I was a bit of a rebel myself when I was younger. Of anything that tried to control me, I was out. But I've heard more. I've known Scientologists who have broken free. So I understand that, and they still get hounded, like decades later, and still given a lot of trouble for it. Scientologists, Scientology?
Scientology. I don't know anybody who's been in it, but I'm aware of it. Is that this bizarre quote religion that Tom Cruise is in?
Oh, so go on.
Is it the one that Tom Cruise is in, and a couple of the actors, right?
Yeah, because that was started by L. Ron Hubbard.
That's it, L. Ron Hubbard.
Yeah, he did a book called Dianetics. And I must admit, the book Dianetics, I think it's a very good book on how to look at oneself. I think it's a very good self-help book. But what came from it afterwards, Scientology, I myself nearly got caught up in it when I was younger.
Really?
Yeah, I was very into sci-fi. And I'd read a lot of his sci-fi books. So when I was about 15 or 16, when I discovered Scientology, I was like, yeah, I like the sound of this, religion and science fiction. And they still send me, because I was living at my parents' then, and I know every now and then my parents will get in touch and say, oh, you've got another letter from, where is it? Not Gravesend. I've forgotten where their headquarters is in England. It begins with a G. You've got another letter from there, and it's them still, all these decades later, still sending letters. But I never did join. But I know that, again, this is an organized religion, though that they've only recently, in the last few years, been recognized as a religion. Now, had that legal status put on them. Before, it would have been seen more of a cult. But it's very difficult for people to get out of there. But again, it's in any cult or something like Scientology, there's them egos at the top that believe that they know better of how to run our lives and how to, manipulate people so they get the best of everything. And, all the people lower down in that rank are, treated in pretty bad ways. Though there are many Scientologists I know that are very, very happy with it and have lived with no trouble in their way. So I think it depends on who your cult leader is at the time of where you are, because cult leaders normally are people with a very high ego to be able to think that they can manipulate and lead people in such a fashion.
Yeah. I can understand that. It's like, depending on how you look at it, the ego, they're like almost psychopath level, because the way that they're driven, it's just sheer manipulation for some of them. I mean, details are like Mormonism as well. Now, it's just allegedly, obviously. I'm not familiar with the Mormon Church. I don't think I ever will be. I know. I don't think I know. I never will be. And I'm not knocking anybody else who is. It's like I say, each to their own. But you don't hear a lot of good things about some of these religions. And unfortunately, did you see the one from one of the? I'm not sure which last they sent. It was one of them. It was on Netflix. I think it came out last year. Some of the stuff what you hear they do to women and kids.
Yeah, I think I know which one you mean. Was that with the little Indian guy? There's quite a few. The one on Osho was fantastic that they did, but I feel like because I'm a great fan of Osho. I don't know if you know of him, but they did do that was Wild Wild Country on Netflix, and they were talking about how they were living out in, I think it was California. I might have got the county wrong, but it wasn't him that caused all the financial problems. It was actually the ladies that were like in charge of him and his secretary. He was just trying to be a good guru, I think, where behind the scenes there was all this financial fraud going on.
All right.
Yeah, and then there's that other one that was also in there where there was the guy that kept sadly raping all the women. That was a different.
That's the one.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I remember that because that was quite shocking. Actually, he was doing the sweat lodges when he turning the heat up.
Yes.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. It was. It was also kids. Kids were young girls were. You know what I mean, don't you?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
but
like
what is making someone like that who starts off with thinking I'm doing this to help everyone, and then they can turn like that? I find that very hard to comprehend what's happened to them. So it's got to be some kind of ego thing that's inside them, and possibly even a split personality, or thinking, right, I'm manipulating these people at the same time I'm trying to help them. Though he was a bit horrendous actually, because to make people do all them dancing exercises when he was turning the heating up to, it was like passing out kind of atmosphere.
I can't work the mentality of some of these people. I mean, especially when it involves kids.
Mm. But, well, I get concerned as to why are they doing this?
Yeah, why? What is the what they're getting out of that they think's good? Because no matter which way you look at it, well, which way I look at it, I don't see any good coming from wanting to hurt women and kids.
Well, to me, it's quite a demonic type of thing to do, and I'm quite a believer in that dark forces can manipulate and take over people. Because I'm quite concerned that people follow these kinds of gurus, in inverted commas. So that's people that need help in themselves, isn't it? But then what is it that they need? Why do they need to be looking up to someone? They don't feel confident enough in themselves. Like, we all need teachers, that's fine, but we should then be able to learn from people and then go off and blast our own path, start your own blaze of glory. But people get caught up with these kind of gurus and stay with them because they obviously don't have enough confidence in themselves and need a leader. And them leaders somehow through this manipulation can then do these awful things to people. But I do get concerned that demonic entities can get into them. I think demonic entities can enter people that have let's say a higher ego in that kind of way, and manipulates them. Or maybe we all have a demonic entity in us anyway. It's kind of like we've got an angel and a devil on each shoulder, haven't we? That's one of the old sayings. And many people aren't listening to their angel. They're too busy listening to their devil on their shoulder.
Or maybe similar to like we've all got a shadow self.
Yes. Yeah.
You know.
But why does that overtake them? Why is their conscience not stopping them? It's something I'd love to interview these people for real. If I could meet Osho, I know he's dead now, or that guy. I think that guy's died that was in that, or he might still be in prison.
All right. I think he might have done, Debbie. I'm not too sure on that. I know he was in jail, and that's where he should be. I mean, what I would think would be just a little bit of justice would be let's what he was doing or what his dad done to those people, obviously they didn't ask for what he did to them. Let's see how he was doing, if he would do that, if that was happening to him in jail.
Yeah, I kind of see what you're saying, but at the same
Wrongs don't
time,
make a right.
so
Sorry, two wrongs don't make a right. But what I'm trying to say is, you know, teach him a bit of his own medicine. See how he likes it.
yeah, that would be intriguing to see if that happened, as long as you're not doing it, because then that comes onto your karma. If you're trying to do a justice in that kind of two wrongs make a right way, that then affects your karma. Are you a believer in karma?
I think I am, yeah, actually. I mean, that's why, I mean, yeah, I want all the bad things you could possibly imagine happening to these people for what they've done to us. But again, I think at the spur of the moment, who doesn't feel anger or feel upset for and feel sorry for people who've been hurt?
Well, there's a difference between justified, isn't it? Justified anger
Yes.
like that. That's very understandable. But then let's take that guru guy that was the sweat man, I'm going to call him for now, the one that kept turning. If it was all done back to him, that would be, you know, obviously we all think, yeah, that's great, but it's still not helping him in his karma. He needs to learn that what he did was wrong and be redeemed in some way. That's the major way of sorting out your karma. I know everyone likes the old karma will sort it out, but if you realize, say you did something bad and you realized with your heart and soul how bad that was and properly redeem yourself, you can stop that coming back on you. Do you see what I mean? Like if you've realized how wrong it was what you did, like you've got to really believe it with your heart and soul though to be properly redeemed, not just a oh I'm sorry or a mea culpa. You've got to really mean it, and then that karma can be stopped. It's when people don't realize why they've done it or what they've done is so awful that it will come back to them. And I think in this life some karmas do come back to you on this life, but I'm a big believer in reincarnation, and I think a lot of the karma reoccurs in another life. But if you're working on yourself, I think it happens in this life because they can see that you want to, if you properly redeem yourself and are sorry, it will try and help you. There's always a helping hand from the angels.
Yeah, I get that. I mean, at the end of the day, Debbie, we can't turn back time, can we?
No, we can't. That's why we have.
Yeah, anyway.
Which is why we have, you know, this is why people get caught up in their remembering things that happened when they were in their past. You know, we all get caught up, you know, when you're just going to bed, suddenly something pops into your mind of some awful embarrassing moment that happened years ago. Why do our minds do that? You know, it is quite crazy. Our minds play these tricks on us. But what does it do to the guilty people if things like that, if they feel that guilt? Or do many people, you know, think the things they do on this planet, these awful things? Let's take Myra Hindley and what's his name? I've forgotten his name.
Ian Brady.
He never cared what he did to people, did he? He had no pity for them families. So what will happen to him with his karma when he dies because he didn't get redeemed? He had no humility. He just was evil. That's serious then. That's when your karma is going to be affected.
Yeah. I mean, if they had anything about them, they would have told those families where those kids were. Mm-hmm. But didn't Debbie, did they?
No. So to me, he had no heart and soul, did he?
All they want, those families should at least. I mean, they'd already lost. Let's face it. And you know, just the thought of that is just heartbreaking. I mean, my baby girl, she's just turned 16, but she's my world, and I just can't imagine anything like that. It's just sickening. So that loss is just it is heartbreaking. But if they had anything about them, they would at least give that family some closure and just say, look, like, right, okay, you know, but nothing, like you said.
He enjoyed having that power over that family of knowing he was hurting them.
That's what it was, as if he was in control in a way, and I guess he is to some extent, which is wrong.
Mm.
I think it's so wrong.
Which is why I kind of like doing my shows on my channel, but I'm trying to, because I can't always explain it properly. That's why I do a lot of what Gurdjieff and Steiner and Blavatsky talk about, is how to develop yourself so that you can be a better version of yourself, not feed off other people's negativity, learn why people do that, or even why we ourselves do that. You know, we've all been naughty to other people at some time in our life, obviously not to the effect of that awful man, but you know, if we can understand ourselves, like the old adage, the sign that was over all the mystery schools, know thyself. It's the most important thing, is if you can understand yourself. That's why I say to a lot of people, get your astrological chart done from when you was born, because it will teach you a lot about yourself. And as you were saying about the shadow side, that's all explained in there. You can understand why you have these, you know, dark moments. And you know, we all have it, all of us, but we've got to work upon it and try and be the light beings that we're supposed to be.
Yeah, I love that interpretation as well, Dev. It's brilliant. That it is fascinating, especially, I mean, like I said, I've just recently found in your work, and it's well, I'm smiling now, put it that way. You are a fascinating individual, Deborah.
Oh, thank you very much. I love doing these shows. As I was saying before, my channel is very eclectic. There's lots of different things on there and some poetry and stuff, but I try to be as uplifting as possible to try and help other people be that way. And I have a lot of great guests that come on. We talk about all kinds of different things. You'll have to come on. We'll have to do a show sometime.
Thank you, Dave. Will be an honor. Thank you.
Because we do have to talk about the dark sometimes. We must always remember that the whole point for us is to keep ourselves going upwards, living in a higher vibration. I normally say to people, we want to make sure we're not drawn down or pulled down by these darker people or the manipulators in this life. We need to be the strong individuals that we are. And there are higher entities out there that want to help us.
Yeah, I believe so as well. I'm not quite sure what these entities are, but I think that now this is just my belief, but there potentially could be other dimensions, that there are things out there we just can't see. Probably will never be able to understand as well.
Absolutely, but I found by doing the exercises that Gurdjieff and Steiner discuss, if you really work on yourself, you begin to be able to lift that vow. There's this whole thing about, this is why the everyday people can't see it. It's like there's been a big vow pulled down upon us. Everyone's programmed so that you can't see what's really going on. And it can be quite, I know many people sort of see things out of the corner of their eyes, or are aware of like shadow beings, a lot of people talk about, or something just sort of quite out of the way of seeing it properly, so that people know there's other things out there, or ghosts, let's say, or poltergeist. But most people turn a blind eye or think that if they ignore it enough it'll go away. But I'm not coming from a scary point of view. I'm coming from that if you develop and work on yourself and you begin to see these things, and you begin to realize what's going on, that we are not only this dimension here, there's other dimensions going on as well.
So what's your aspect on the paranormal side of things? Do you have you had any interactions or any experience in that side of things, Debbie? If you don't mind me asking.
No,
if
that's fine.
You wanted to talk about it, I fully understand, but it would just be interesting.
Yeah, I've had things. Yeah, you know, that's even when I was a kid, I was aware there was other things going on, but I wouldn't say that I could see things very clearly. I know friends that could see other beings and ghosts and things. I swear I'm going to do it from a lighter side of. I'm a believer in all the elemental type of beings also live on this planet, but they've kind of hidden away. Many people would call them the fairy folk, or dwarves and gnomes and things like that, but they do still live in this realm, but they've just taken themselves out of humanity's eyesight. But I have definitely seen various things. If I really concentrate on, say I'm out in a lovely field, no one's around, and I can really adjust my eyes just to look at a little flower or something, you can begin to see that there's other things not there. Sometimes they come out, not for everyone, because most people are very closed-minded to this kind of thing. And it's really about, I know they say, what's that saying? You have to believe to see.
Oh, seeing is believing.
And all that kind of thing. But I know non-believers that have seen ghosts. I know non-believers in anything that have been interacted with some kind of paranormal activity. So it's not about the seeing is believing, it's the being open to what it is that's out there that you can see. But definitely doing some kind of esoteric path work helps one to become more aware of what's out there, or to hear. Some people are clairaudient, some people are so clairaudient, and what's the other ones? You can hear. Some people hear things, some people see things, some people have like visions coming into their heads, so it's like they're being clairvoyant, where they're being shown it through their head. So I'm a big believer in there's more to this world, but there's still questions as to how we access it.
Yes.
Peculiar. I suppose the most times, which I don't recommend to people, have probably been when I've been on magic mushrooms, which I haven't done for many years, but they definitely help lift the veil and make me see things.
You are now a legend, Deborah. Brilliant. But didn't expect that. I did not expect.
But then that's the shortcut way of doing it. So that's why it's not really recommended in the esoteric path. When you're doing an esoteric path, you're going through the exercises and coming to it naturally. But taking a bit of magic mushrooms or something like that is a shortcut. And obviously I'm not ongoing. You can't take mushrooms forever. So
why not?
You're going mad.
Very mad.
Actually, you might go so mad that you become sane. Who knows?
I've heard the opposite effect. So no, that would be horrible. But,
so I do think there are things out there, but it's difficult to engage with them because I think they've retreated from us because we're such a horrendous species. Like, look what we do to nature, and we should be working with nature.
Yeah, we should be, but that wouldn't surprise me how they've gone into hiding from us. Or maybe it's the opposite, and they think we're the weird ones, and they're all there normal, and it's us, we're the monsters.
No, I think they think that. I think you've hit it right on the head. That is exactly what I think is going on. We are the monsters to them because we wreck everything. And we probably used to hunt them down. Us humans love to take over anything that's not one of us and destroy it and hang it up and, kill it and then hang it up on our walls. So we've got a nice, it's probably head pieces somewhere.
Turn us into shoes and start wearing them clothing.
Yeah. So
yes.
It's weird that humanity is so mean like that. It's like we come together. I think one of my favorite sayings is stupidity breeds in large groups of people, and humanity as a whole can be quite stupid sometimes. But I know there are awakened people out there that are trying so hard to not get caught up in all the idiocy and the stupidity of the people that are running everything or do stupid things. And I'm not meaning just in governments and that, even in your local councils or the schools, and it always seems to be stupid people in charge.
Why is that? It's like it's almost as like it's magnetic for them.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, for an example now, I'm not into politics whatsoever, but just how I see it, like about Boris, and then there's the lady who was after me. I don't know her name. She was in for a couple of weeks.
Yeah, I don't think she's made 4 weeks. I can't remember her name either. But yeah.
And then there's the one they've got now. I just can't work it out what's going on.
Well, they're puppets, aren't they? They're definitely manipulated, and they're told what to say. So there's something else going on behind the politics that we see. You know, the old secret elites that are really trying to run everything.
Yeah, that's how it seems.
They don't seem able to say their own things. They don't seem able to put a sentence together without being told it through the earpiece.
that is earpiece, or they're reading from one of the magic screens they've got in front of them. You can clearly see them reading something. But and then you get the people that seem to not want to see things how they really are. It's like
it's an easy life, don't they?
Yeah, they call them what they call the sheeple, as they say. It's worrying.
It is, but one of the things Gurdjieff talks about is people love their suffering. And that's what the sheep do. They just go along with it because they're being told what to do. It means they don't have to think for themselves. And also they can then go and moan about how awful their lives are to their friends, neighbours and work colleagues, where people like us that can see through it are trying to find a way to get out of it. It's very difficult to escape the rat race.
It's I mean, when you try and have a conversation as well, it can be difficult because they don't see things for what they really are. All they see is what they want to be told. Like you're saying, it's like they need to be told what to do. It's like they're not mature in their own thoughts.
But it also starts from education, doesn't it? They don't, at school, we don't get told how to be the best we can be. We don't get told how to articulate ourselves, how to think for ourselves. We're told what to think. We're told what to say. Where in the ancient times, like in ancient Greek, they used to teach people how to converse, how to put forward a good argument, to see things sensibly, where now people aren't taught how to look at the sensibilities of life. Instead, they're very dumbed down.
I love that, dumbed down. Yeah, dumbed down. That's quality.
And I suppose for me, this is why the Gurdjieff work was so important, because Gurdjieff is teaching you how to live in this world, because it's a lunatic asylum, how to be aware of what's going on, how to be aware people are being manipulated, how to aware that the governments are all run by behind the scenes people.
Come on, we're good. You can say what you want.
You know, and then how to be, so that you can live to the best of your ability in this crazy world and be as true a person as you are. His last book is actually called Life is Real Only Then When I Am. The rest of the time, when we're not awake, life's not real, is it? It's just like a program. But if we're aware of what's going on, we're living to our fuller potential. And okay, at times it can be very frightening that everything's out of our control. But when you're on an esoteric, more awakened path, because you're aware of that, it makes things a lot easier and you can see ways past it. Like I was saying earlier about sidestepping things or finding a better way to deal with things.
I love that. I love there is one other thing that I wanted to ask you about. Before we started recording, I couldn't pronounce it.
Gurdjieff.
Yeah. Solinensius.
Solinensius,
yes.
So that's about the sun. And the sun is at the moment at a solar minimum. And Gurdjieff was talking about this like over 100 years ago. And Steiner also talks about this. When the sun's at a solar minimum, there's, I'm not scientifically minded, so I don't quite understand how to say the right terminology, but it's more or less saying that it's affecting the whole cosmos, and the cosmos affects other planets, it affects our planet. And so because this sun's at a solar minimum, it's sending out a certain vibration that's going through the universe that kind of causes chaos in the way the world's being run, also the way the climate's being working lately or not working. And many people would say, oh, this climate change and everything, this was going to happen anyway. We might have accelerated it with all our pollution, maybe. But with this solar minimum normally comes a renewal. It's like a
reset.
Energy, like a reset. But we don't want Klaus Schwab's reset, not that kind of we don't want New World Order. We want an awakened reset, which I can see more and more people are doing. And even though I was quite anti all what happened in the shit show of 2020, sorry, I swore there, I hope that's okay. But a lot of people woke up. What a frightening time to wake up in. But if that kind of mentality continues and they don't go back to sleep, then more and more of us will be there to stop any craziness of New World Order. Because it should be free. People should be free to think what they want, follow whatever belief they want to believe in, do and come and go however they like, but they are trying their hardest to stop that, and we must make sure our freedoms are not taken away from us.
Again, Debbie, I love that. I really do. It's like, how can I word this now? It's like as if whoever it is, the deep state, so to speak, they want to prevent any form of progression.
Yes. And to me, that sounds demonic, because the divine source would want us to progress, evolve. And I feel like the dark forces or the demonic forces, whatever, the elite, they're trying to keep us de-evolved. They don't want us to evolve to our better state. It'd be such a better world if we had woken up people. Gurdjieff says if we had 200 awakened people, the world would be run in a much better way. People would have food, everybody would have a bed to sleep in, or a house, a roof over their head. There'd be no starving. You know, it would work much better. But for some reason, the people want to follow these leaders that keep us dumbed down. But that's programming.
Yeah. They love voting for them, don't they, as well?
Well, even if that's a true thing, maybe that's all fixed.
I think it is.
And not enough people do vote, and I can understand why, because they think that their vote won't make a difference.
I've never been able to work out what some people are overvoting. Some people are passionate about it. To me, no.
I've always voted for crazy parties myself. I used to vote for Screaming Lord Slut when I was younger, and recently I did we had a guy here doing the Roman Centurion Party, because he wanted to bring back crucifixion for criminals. I thought, that sounds good.
The Roman, what did you say? Roman Centurion?
The Roman Centurion Party. And his catchphrase was, what did the Romans ever do for us? Well, really, the Romans gave us a civilized world. So, you know, I thought that sounds good.
Yeah, we're far from that. Well, we're not all uncivilized. I think just a select few what they ruin society. That's what they want. They want misery. They want people suffering. They want people stressed and anxiety. They want all the negative, because they're probably feeding upon it.
Yeah. But then what's feeding upon it? That's would be my question. And then that goes down a very dark rabbit hole.
It does. It really does. That's when things start getting weird. Now, I do like it when things get weird, but weird in a humorous way, not in a bad way.
Well, humorous always keeps the vibration up.
It is.
And I don't like being laughed at.
One thing, Deborah, we are good at is us British have got a different humour than anybody else.
Absolutely. Thank the gods for the Monty Python and such like.
Life of Brian.
Yeah, one of the best films on theology and religion there ever could be. That's the best education on what religion is all about.
Meaning of life. If anybody's listening, watch The Meaning of Life or Life of Brian tonight, or both back to back.
Yes.
Yes, sorry, went off a little bit then, Debbie. So, you know, these, again, I cannot pronounce.
Solionensius. So
Thank you.
Sol is sun, and then Innentius starts talking about how the sun's changing. So everything's on a cyclic or a circle. Everything's working over time. As we know, our own cosmos moves at a certain rate. We've got all the different epochs of, like, for example, astrology. We're going into the Aquarian age and such like. Well, that's the same for the sun. It goes through its cycles, and it's just going through a bit of a would it be invigorating? Depends on how you look at it. But it's going through this solar minimum that's going to have effects on all of us. And that's also why, you know, the weather's changing. While we're having volcanic eruptions a lot more. I know people say to me, "There's volcanoes go off all the time." They're going off a lot more than they used to. There's lots of them going off, and earthquakes that they're not reporting. Definitely a lot of seismic activity under the waters. So there's all that happening as well, which would also mean that, I suppose I'm saying there's got to be like a global consciousness happening. It could be a good change, or it could be a bad change if they try and control us. But if we can have a more of a, right, this is our chance to make a better world for us all, we need to grab it. But so are many other groups doing it, like Schwab and his cronies, and other, you know, like I've heard of different Jewish sects that are going to try and take over. These are just all obviously conspiracy theories and such like, but they are aware that this is a time for a great conscious renewing, a great conscious awakening. And for those that want to keep it as it is, they will try and keep everyone dumbed down or told that this is all rubbish and everything's going on as normal. Ignore what's happening outside. Don't notice that the weather's changing.
Like a distraction in a way. Yeah,
exactly. So you could, even as an individual, you can use this time to become aware of yourself, aware of the universe, and become in tune with the universe and its changes, and hopefully evolve yourself, make yourself that better person, and be part of the ride.
That is, that's incredible. I love that. Just with regards to the weather, now one of my friends, he lives in Australia, and he mentioned solar. Let me get these tweets up. Just apologies, but I think you'll appreciate this.
Okay.
It is. So he's mentioned solar storms yesterday when I was talking to him, and I said to him, if you can, take a couple of pictures for us, you know, because I've, you know, recently there's a couple of us, you know, a couple of listeners, friends, I'd say, we've been watching the moon, keeping our eye on it. It's been behaving very oddly lately, like,
isn't it? It seems to be on its bottom quite a lot when it should be halfway up the, you know, the half moon should be standing like on its tip, half to the left, half to the right, and instead we're having our moons looking more like it would be if we were on the equator. So I do wonder, has the Earth moved?
Wow, it's crazy how you just said that, because, you know, for past couple of days we've been taking pictures. You know, they're in the US, I'm here, and there's like, shout out to Carolyn, and she sent me a picture of the moon last night, that night before. I'll send you a picture when we're finished. But it looks like a skull with the clouds around, and the eye of the moon's the eye. It's difficult to explain, but you'll understand when you see it. But anyway, sorry about that. We're going on about what's going on in Australia, and yesterday, 1 million lightning bolts hit West Coast yesterday by freak storm.
1 million?
1 million. I will. I'll send it you when we finish. But yeah, it's got a detailed chart of where the the storms hit and the lightning. But honestly, it is just extraordinary.
But this is what I think is part of the changes that are going on. Do you remember all the forest fires in California a few years ago? And I had witnesses there telling me, you can see the bolts of fire coming from the sky. So they assumed it was coming from, you know, some satellite technology or something. But I think this is all part of the universe changing.
You know, this is what I mean. It makes sense with what you're saying, and that's why I wanted to have seen your perspective, you know, on this, the solar minimum.
Solananusis.
That's it, yeah.
The sun activity. We just call it the sun activity. But that is fascinating, like, of all these, and they're actually lightning bolts. And was that in the daytime or the nighttime, do you know?
That I'm not sure of, but what I'll do is, finished, I'll send you the article and see what you can make out of it. I mean, you'll probably know a lot more than me. Well, you will know a lot more than me, obviously, because you're.
We share information. That's how we teach each other and help each other, you know.
It is indeed, but yeah, it's proper fascinating.
Because I know Australia had weird, freaky winter weather. I can't remember if it was this winter or last winter. And then at the moment in Spain, I don't know if you know, like, so we're doing this on the first week of January. I can't remember the date, but Spain's supposed to be in winter and it's got 25 degrees. It's really hot, like heat wave hot out there at the moment. So what's going on?
Yeah, it's very bizarre. I mean, like, I don't know what it was like. I'm presuming, are you on the southwest or southeast?
I'm southeast.
Southeast. I'm not sure what it was like for you last week, but it was particularly cold here. It was like -10.
Yeah, we went -2s and 3s because I'm on the border of London. So
right, okay. Yeah, I'm northwest, so it's usually gloomy and like that around it anyway, but not like it's been a long time since it's been that cold. But like I said, suddenly it's gone from one extreme to the other, and then you hear about what was going on over in the US, like just people dying through the cold. It's just like in New York State.
-40 degrees. Like I was out there when it was -12 in New York back in 2012, and I found -12 harsh. So I don't know how they are coping with -40.
Yeah, it's very strange, isn't it?
But they're going to try and put it on the climate change because they probably don't understand what's happening. Do that, like the people, the elites, the people in charge. So they've got to fight because they always have to give a reason, don't they? They have to give an answer to the peoples, otherwise they look stupid. That's why they've always been quiet about UFOs and things for all these years. They haven't got an answer.
Yeah, they don't know.
So they don't know anything, but it's definitely something more is going on than just the planet's being affected by climate change because we all used aerosols in the 1980s. You know, it's just ridiculous. And when I learned about this Solananusis and it was all explained to me, which I know I didn't do a very good explanation because I don't know the terminology, but I can see how the sun's changing and that the universe does because it's all going through a certain cycle. And that will affect all the other planets and our planet because I know someone who does a channel and he was saying that Mars was heating up. So that's been having global problems as well. And they've got nobody there doing spraying aerosols and creating a climate change.
Well, maybe they do. Maybe the secret is that we don't know.
Yes. All doing their 1980s hairstyles with the aerosols.
And the shoulder pads, what they used were in the 80s.
That's right, yeah. That's what's happening in Mars at the moment.
Yeah, very much. Do you think that any of this sort of has anything to do with Sorath, the sunbeam?
I'm still learning about Sorath from the Steiner perspective. He is a sun demon, and I know you was talking about it with Raven a few shows ago, and because Steiner's not the only one to bring him up. There was I can't remember if you spoke about this with Raven or not. Did you speak about Cornelius Agrippa? Because he discovered Sorat back in the, now I can't remember if he's 13 or 1400s, but he was I think he might have been a Jesuit, but anyway, he was a reclusive monk, scientific monk, but he did a lot of meditations and such like, and he was able to see that there was a black being in the sun, and he called it Sorat.
Could this be? Oh no, I was just going to say, was that with the black sun?
Well, I think he was aligning to it being the black sun. And many different religions try to appease the being in the sun. I'm, you know, about ancient Egyptology, there was Akhenaten, the pharaoh that.
Akhenaten.
Oh, right. Okay. So in ancient Egypt, their pantheon was, there was many gods. Yeah. And then one pharaoh came along who looks quite alien, actually. He's quite an interesting looking chappy. His name was Akhenaten. And he got rid of all the gods and said there's only one god, the sun god. He called it Aton. And then when you read his actual prayers, he talks about how he's praying to the beast that's behind the sun that's behind the sun. So he was aware that there were two suns. And everything's got a double. So this black sun, I know a lot of people mix it up with the black Saturn, the planet Saturn, but I think they're two different beings, and I think the black sun is like, you know, like you was talking earlier about the shadow. Well, the black sun is the sun's shadow, and maybe that's a bit more, has a stronger impulse on the universe at the moment, and why everything's going topsy-turvy.
Do you know, Deborah, this is what I mean. A lot of what you're saying, it's starting to make a lot of sense, and being serious, it does make sense what you're saying, and it makes you wonder.
Well, because I'm reading through Steiner at the moment, I'm just getting to the Sorat Bates. Maybe we could do a show on him in a month or so when I've fully read the lectures properly, because I still find the Sorat idea quite difficult, because
I would love to.
Talks about Lucifer and Ahriman and how they try and manipulate us and keep us from, their mission is to keep us from having a divine connection. But Sorat is their leader. He's like the big one, but he keeps quite quiet about it. Because as they say, you mention their names, they perk up their ears. It's like, why is Libby and General Lee talking about us? They'll be paying us a visit.
Yeah, it's true.
That's why you have to do your prayers and say, please keep him away.
Yeah. It would be an honour to cover Sorat. It really would, Deborah. But you're going to have to tell me what you tell when we finished. If you tell me where you're up to, and then I can start as well. Then, and have a good, you know, so we're both.
Yeah, on the same page. Yeah.
Yes. I would love that. I have covered Ahriman before. We've brought him up a few times, actually.
I've listened to your shows.
Yeah, Raven's brilliant with many shows, because I mean a lot of them connect, you know, and you don't think, well, they don't connect, but when you look into them, they do. And to me,
it's a whole picture, and that's what many people avoid. They don't want to look at the big picture. And doing this kind of work makes you start seeing what the big picture is, because most people are very narrow-minded, just in their own world. It's all about me and my family and my work. But when you start doing this kind of work, you start seeing how everything's entwined and linked to everything.
Yeah, it's like I said. That's what makes it more fascinating. It's we live. It's like now. I know society's it's all backwards. It's not where it should be. But these are exciting times for like the likes of us. Because I mean, I'm no expert at anything, but I find everything fascinating, and I think that's why I'm so intrigued with the majority of it.
Well, this is why you're not the sheep, because most sheep are not interested. The only interest they get from it is perhaps watching it on TV, some fantasy program or something, or thriller. Whereas at least you're aware enough that there's something more going on, and you've got that hunger to find out more, and that's important.
It is very important. It's imperative.
It's imperative. Yes.
All this it's all vital. There's certain things what we should all know about, and it's things like this. Yeah, you don't get a lot of people covering topics like this because a lot of people just follow what other people are doing. Well, it's like we're different, and I'm not saying we're better at what we do. Just saying it's different. It's, to me, what we're covering is more interesting to me than other things. It's just I just find it so fascinating.
And there are other people that are, like you and me, that want to learn more and don't know where to go. So we can encourage them to what to look at, where to go, and then that'll take them off to other things. And maybe they'll come back with things for us to look at that we've never thought of.
Exactly, because there's always something there. I mean, every single show I do, I'm learning from the guest. It's brilliant. We have some incredible guests, and some of the talent, like yourself, it's talent. It's something that I've never seen before.
Well, that's people are having to share. I believe it's got to be put out there now. Over the centuries, all the occult teachings was kept in mystery schools up until like the 1800s, when they were suddenly beginning to be released, because they knew an end times was coming, but not an end times as it's the end of the world completely, but in that the materialistic way of life was coming. And if that came, then humanity will not evolve because they'll be caught up in materialism. So they had to release all the esoteric teachings out into the public and give it to teachers that could pass it on. And I'm not saying that I'm a teacher, but I've learned from other teachers that I'm just passing on the information they were giving us.
Yeah.
Because we need to get this out to as many people as we can, because there are people out there that want to wake up, but they don't know it yet. They know they're different, and they know they don't like the way they're living, or that they're, life's they're caught up in some kind of boring rat race life. They just need to know that there's something more out there to go on, another path to look down.
Yeah. I love that. I love your old approach and your old perspective on what you do. What you believe is right is something that I love. Thank you. You are. I'm so glad that I found you. I mean, it's like I believe that our paths were always meant to cross. I say this, it's something I say often. It's because I mean it. I think we're all a part in this. We're all a part of the puzzle, so to speak. Together, we are as one, and there's a lot we can achieve when we are together.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to doing more with you. It's going to be great.
Oh, thank you, dear. That means I'll not swear because I've got a lot of respect for you, but it means so much for you to say that. Thank you. I think let's have a look at time.
I'm going to have to go in a minute, actually.
Starving. You're making me hungry. I don't know why.
That's what I was going to say. I'm starving. I need to have my tea. We're not just hungry for esoteric knowledge and awakening. We're hungry for food too.
Yeah, we're starving for food. Yeah, Deborah, it has been a true honour and pleasure speaking with you today.
Oh, thank you very much for this opportunity. It was really good speaking to you.
Thank you. I can't wait till we speak again. But before you go, please, would you like to let everybody know where they can get hold of you?
Well, I have a website called www.debbie-elliott.co.uk, and my YouTube channel is DJ Elliott. I'm more than happy to talk to people, whether on comments or if they want to email me through my website. That'd be great. Come and see what I've got to do, and let's all become a great community together of awakening people.
I love that. And I will say, yeah, you won't be disappointed when you check out Debbie's material. Her content it's just what you like, I can assure you.
Oh, thank you, General Lee. It's been great.
Thank you. Thanks again, Debbie. I'm going to stop recording now.